we'll have this discussion.
Discussion? What discussion?
This is a discussion.
Combustion.
Coming to you from Denver, Colorado, this is Discussion Combustion Podcast with your hosts, Kevin Batstone and Arthur Raw.
Go, bringing in episode 300 of Discussion Combustion.
Wow.
We got Mike Pachan in here. Give that camera some love, Mike.
Yo.
Because Mike has been here since the jump.
Yo.
He was our very first sponsor on this podcast. He's been on Discussion Combustion around 10 times or more.
Yeah.
You have your own series. You have like your own proclaimed series.
Yeah, the Doom Loop series.
The Doom Loop series here on Discussion Combustion.
And remind me, do I still hold the record for most demonetized episodes out of any guest?
That is correct.
Yes.
Mike Pachan holds the most episodes for demonetization.
Yeah, it's
Holding
almost
that down.
100%.
And some of that was because of what I said. It wasn't just you. But
Yeah.
it's the conversations that we get into. So we decided to do it a little different here for 300. You know, bring in an old friend. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, nice to see you guys.
It's
Thanks for
great.
having me as always.
We always pick up right where we left
Yeah,
off.
I always get the
Mhm.
invite, and I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah, we got to get up to your house this summer.
Yep.
300, man. Thanks for bringing in the balloons. That really set
Man,
off
I
the
mean,
look.
that's that's an accomplishment. A lot of
man.
people, the podcast and they get into it.
And they don't get it.
No, they don't, and it just teeters off. And
Yeah, it takes a lot of consistency. I
Yeah.
mean, dedication, money,
Yeah.
risk, get canceled.
Yeah.
You got to have grit to make it in this business.
right, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of work, right? Booking guests, and then you got to stick it out, and it's not insta pop out there, so you gotta grind to get the views, and it's a lot of work, man. So
It's a lot of
congrats.
work. Yeah.
300.
It's fun watching newcomer podcasters start to consider podcasting and how excited that they are for the opportunity to start doing it. And they have all this wind in their sails. And my piece of advice I always give people is I'm just like, hey, if you're passionate about what you're talking about, then you should do it.
Yeah.
And that's always been my advice when it comes to this. And yeah, Discussion Combustion, just since we're talking 300 right now, a little bit, it really has been a place where you've been able to express yourself on here so many times,
Yeah.
and open up our audience to these different ways of thinking about how life really is. And then with all these other plethora of guests, man. So
Massive.
what an honor. And for you to bring in some balloons for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, and
Oh, yeah.
some sourdough cookies.
say,
So shout out to my
delicious.
wife Claire. Yeah,
Shout out to
Yes.
Claire.
Just
Always
some-
cooking up some delicious items.
Yeah,
Those
man.
were good, man.
yeah, aren't they?
Yeah, those were
Yeah,
tasty.
sourdough. That's the way to go.
cookies.
Good for your
I
belly.
ate way too much before you even came in here, and I wanted to eat 3 of those cookies,
Yeah.
even after being too full. So that's how good those are.
I'll probably have one after we're done.
Yeah,
Oh,
those
you
are
got to.
delicious.
A little sugar rush.
Yeah, a little sugar.
Yeah.
So
I love
what we got going on in the Doom Loop series right now, man? I mean,
Dude,
however you want to chop it up, but
I
I know you
mean-
got some stuff.
Well, let's go back to where we left off.
Yeah, let's go back to where we left off. You want to start it off? I mean, I got. Go ahead.
Because I mean, it's
Yeah.
been about 13 months ago you were on.
Yeah,
I think it was
right
June of
about.
24.
Yeah, it was.
So it
yeah.
was before President Trump got shot.
Yeah,
It was still during the election cycle. We still thought Biden was going to be the guy.
Yep.
That was representing the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
We talked about Israel.
yeah, we did, and thank you for bringing that up.
Yep.
Yeah. A touch point. I think the most profound thing that we hit on that episode was I made mention that what people were calling MAGA had came so far and were actually holding true to a populist movement. And then October 7th, and I say, keep your eyes on Israel. October 7th is going to start to dissolve the populism in the MAGA movement. And I think that was the most accurate thing I said on that episode.
I mean, almost verbatim.
Yeah.
We've seen exactly just that happen
Yeah.
with the alt-right, if you will.
Yep.
I don't even know what you want to call them, but we're starting to see a lot of people turn against MAGA
Yep.
and Judaism, and attacking Jews and anti-Israel and pro-Palestine from the right.
Yeah. And, so you might see a change in my appearance tonight because I was reflecting on the Doom Loop series with how far we've came since 2019, right? We've brought up quite a bit of stuff and we've been ahead of the conversations in the mainstream, right? So if you've listened to all the Doom Loops, you've gone from here on episode 1 down to here. And maybe I'll look like this by the end of this episode, just maybe, right? Tucker Carlson said, I think the most impactful thing at the end of one of his episodes with Sagnir Enginati, not pronouncing that correct, but what he said used to be called black-pilled, right? And to hear Tucker Carlson say it, I think was very impactful because he's a centrist, right? Self-proclaimed. He calls himself a WASP, centrist, non-confrontationalist. At the end of the episode, he said, I hope the administration gets back on track with the agenda that they spoke about on the campaign, because if they don't, this country has no political solutions. And that shook me to my core.
Yeah.
Because I had heard it on alt-right social media, people who are really like accelerationists, right? Like just send it then. He's such a centrist. To see it start to click in his mind, I went, wow, we're there. Like we're over the Rubicon. And that is my point. That is the moment I went, I think we're in the fourth turning. I don't think we've leaving the third. I think we're in the fourth.
Confirmed.
Okay.
Officially in the fourth. So remind the viewers kind of what that is.
Yeah,
And
so
our
an
new
episode
listeners.
or two ago, right? So Neil Howe in the 90s was like, my theory is every generation is different. And so he started to do research. He was thinking that each generation was completely different from one another. What he found is that's false. It's a cycle. About every 87 years, you have a turning. And inside one turning, you think of it like seasons. You have a spring, summer, fall, winter. And if you're in turning one, the generation here in winter, and you go into turning two's winter generation is going to act almost exactly the same as the generation one winter. So when we were chatting before we started, I said I got boomer fatigue, right? Like I can barely even be around boomers right now. I'm struggling with it because I think they were pigs at the trough who ate a lot of the opportunities that we no longer have. But when you look at it from a Neil Howe perspective, the boomers of generation one acted just like the boomers of turning two. Turning three had their own boomer, right? And turning four will too. So you really can't blame the boomers. They're doing what the cycle is sort of dictating in a way. But everyone was kind of wondering what it would be like to leave the third and enter the fourth. That's a speculation on my end. But when I heard Tucker Carlson say something that was a few years earlier considered extreme to say and black pilled, I was like, I think we've transitioned. So
Wow.
yeah.
So I don't fully understand. Like so are we like in the winter stage of this 87 years right now, or like are we in the
No, we'd be in the beginning, right? So the winter of the third turning, right? And then that's sort of things are falling apart like you would see in nature.
So they would be like in the late 30s. Like what we're doing now is similar to
I would
people in
agree
the
with
late
that.
in the late
I would say
1930s, or
yeah, I would agree with that. I'd say
and-
you're
and
right
like-
there-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to
Yeah,
like
no,
to talk
no.
over anything.
Yeah.
But like, in what way, like how people are looking at politics, or like what are the similarities?
Yeah.
Would you
So to your point, right? It was verboten to even say Israel, let alone criticize Israel 4 years ago,
Like
especially
you could.
No, because they're considered our best friend. You ask
Okay.
any lifelong Republican neocon, Israel's our best friend. Now people are like, well, how, right? And then they're listing empirical data, historic events that refute that. And that's become more mainstream, one, but two, to the point of to the comment of no political solution, we also spoke about the misunderstanding of the history of World War II and how communism preceded fascism. And after that episode, if you did your homework and really looked at what the Weimar Republic was in Germany and how awful it was and the control the communists had over that and how destructive it was, when fascism came up in the form of National Socialism or Mussolini or Franco in Spain, people were like, well, there's no political solution here. We can't solve communism. So I'm voting for this because they're saying they're going to fight the communism.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really are listening right now, you're hearing the early vibrations of that. Like there was a YouTube with a guy who did like the 1 on 10, right? Like me versus 10 people, and we're all going to talk it out. And there were people going, bro, I'm over it. I like this fascist thing. So you'd consider yourself a fascist, 100%. Like people are saying that out loud at this point in public spaces, unafraid to say it. That's at least a strong similarity there, but I also think it's a strong litmus test for how exhausted people are and that they're actually looking into tribal sections to go, if they're saying that gets me out of it, maybe I'll go over there. That's unprecedented for our country in our lifetime.
For people to actively be seeking and living in a different environment.
Yeah, on what people would refer to as an extreme communism, fascism. I mean, the potential mayor of New York City is openly communistic. The guy running for mayor of Milwaukee is openly communistic. Openly communistic, right? Kansas City just shut down their first government ran grocery store, which is a symptom of communism because it was just terrible. Like, because state run anything is always fails. So you're seeing it, and people are looking, and right, like, hats off to the MAGA people who worked hard from 2020 to 2024 and got Trump elected. But honestly, if you're not disappointed at this point in time, you're either A, die hard, or B, not fully paying attention because what was campaigned on is not coming to fruition. And it's a lot of neocon, same old, meet the new boss, same as the old boss stuff. And I think now people are really reflecting on that, going, okay, so I have an R and a D and I don't want either. Is someone say something nice to me? Who's going to say pretty things in my ear now?
Well, and then we see what Elon Musk wants to do, right? Introducing a third, not necessarily libertarianism or independent like a Ross Perot, but he wants to start a whole new party, the America Party, which is interesting because I think to piggyback off that, he's looking at this opportunity to go, we're so divided right now, team red, team blue, let's come up with another option, which I'm open to hearing. That's why I was open to libertarianism and some of those other political beliefs. But I think on the Trump voters, number one, people don't want to admit when they were fooled.
Right.
I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
It's
Mark Twain, right?
Yep. It's a pride thing. Like, well, my team, we still won. And so we're team, whatever, like it's sports. And I think the other half is that people aren't paying attention. Now, the Epstein stuff is getting people fired up.
It really is.
Because he was all like, let's release it. Let's release it.
Yep.
Yeah.
His name's on it.
I would agree with that. And then it's just coming down to in what capacity.
That's what we don't know.
If you really want to get into Epstein, the absolute preeminent Epstein authority is Whitney Webb, hands down. Whitney Webb's had to divide her book in two, so volume 1, volume 2, and they're 1,000 pages each. And it's autistically deep in detail.
Have you read?
I've tried to audiobook, and it was so deep, like I got lost. And it's like 8 hours a book, right? I listened to every single podcast that she does, and she was just on maternity leave, and she came out with one yesterday, 30 minutes long. I listened to it 4 times so I could lock that away for discussion this evening. Her point is, because right now it's, I hate saying sides because it's so ridiculous and I'm playing into the conversation. You have a section of folk saying, he's on it, he's guilty. And then you have a section of folks saying, that's not his thing to do to R&T little kids, right? And I'm just going to say R&T tonight because I'm not saying those words, what they're doing to those kids.
No,
right?
that's fair.
R&T, okay? The point is even if he wasn't R&Ting those kids, he was in the group, in the scene of people who were.
Correct.
And if you listen to Whitney Webb, the depth of corruption is so thick in this country at this point that, just even being in that community is enough where
it's like, what were you doing with those people?
Exactly. Like, you should be forfeiting any ability to be socially accepted, right? Because Wilbur Ross, who bailed Trump out of one of Trump's failed businesses, the parent company that bought that failed business that Wilbur Ross had financial ties to was a CIA front to help launder money, and they acquired Trump's business. He then acquired Khashoggi's yacht. Khashoggi was an arms dealer who used sexual blackmail. And then in the 90s, Trump was hosting beauty pageants for the next top model,
Mhm.
but like not in the TV sense. Just like, remember how modeling was really big in the 90s
huge,
and everyone's going to model? It was like you'd go to the mall and they'd be like model agency. Like it was like this kind of thing. Well,
It was
those
like
14, those 14 to 19-year-old girls would get sent to New York without their parents. They were throwing after parties on Trump's yacht. So whether he R&T'd a little child or not, there were grown men sitting there encouraging underage girls to dance or dance on them, and that's not acceptable.
It isn't.
Right? So irregardless of how far he went, it's still in that group of men who were going that far.
Is this One Nation Under Blackmail, Volume 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, it's deep.
It looks it.
I mean,
It's
intuitively,
insane.
I believe that corruption runs basically on every level, and I just believe that's the way it is. And like, really, if presidents are puppets and governments are ran by corporations, then like there's that whole layer too.
So, and we've
You
touched on that, right? The multinational corporatocracy that's actually in charge, right? And I don't even think that the word government, if you take it at face value for what the definition is, I don't think that we have a functioning government anymore. I came up with a bit of a theory for tonight's episode that we can talk about. I won't even call people in Congress politicians anymore. I'm referring to them as war fighters, and I can go into why. But, the other thing we touched in previous episodes on the multinational corporatocracy is the steering committees, and I listed them, the Council on Foreign Relations, Bilderberg, Club of Rome, right? And that the banking cartel funds the corporatocracies they want, like Facebook, Tesla, Blackstone, BlackRock. The people who play nice go on the steering committees. They make the decisions so that their corporations interact with the long-term goal. For decades, those organizations were called conspiracy theories, another phrase I don't use, but I'll use it for this context. Alex Jones and Daniel Stulin, who we've talked about, would go to these meetings and videotape them, and the news would say it was fake. Well, just a few years ago, the news admitted, oh yeah, no, they're real and people meet, but don't worry, they're not talking about anything. Ha ha ha. This year, depopulation was openly on the agenda at Bilderberg. So the multinational corporatocracy isn't even hiding it anymore. It's out, which is more to the point of people going, communist mayor in New York says I'm going to actually be able to afford something. I'll give it a shot.
It's almost like
fascism
a
to fight against it. I'll give it a shot. Like, we're at that point.
Yeah. And the fact that people are, I don't want to say that gullible, but almost that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's like to say we're not even hiding it anymore. It's just out in the open. Why would you do that? Because people are really not paying attention? Like, is that the why?
I think it's a matter of, again, part of the process that it's a mask off moment. And if you remember, and I said his name wrong, I said David Stulin. It's Daniel Stulin. I like to be accurate. He is preeminent on steering committees, especially Bilderberg. He's been to every meeting for 30 years. He also knows his history and says the turning pattern can be traced all the way back to Rome. When Rome finally collapsed, and it was a long cycle for Rome to collapse, there was no operating system to pick up on and for the world to gravitate towards, so the world went into chaos. When feudalism came and people were so tired of their villages being R&T'd constantly by warring factions, people were like, you say as a king you came from God and you'll bring organization to the chaos, I'm in. And that's where monarchies and feudalism rose from. But it took a lot of time for that new operating system to pop up. And then our country's famous for pushing back against that, floating on boats over here and doing what used to be referred to as a constitutional republic. His point is, in this turning, when we leave the fourth and third and come into the fourth, there ain't no operating system. And it's the only time it's happened since the fall of Rome. Every other time, there was a set operating system ready to catch that fall. So right now, when I see a communist mayor in New York and Milwaukee ready to get elected, and they probably will, and we hear people openly talking about this and that and the other, and then you have, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. There's a juggling for control in the new operating system, and I think we're seeing it in real time.
Go ahead.
I got some AI stuff pulled up. I'm just curious to
Yeah,
see like what we
go
can
add.
find as we live action.
Yeah, I
We've
think
never
it's
done this
great.
before.
No,
on
I
any
think
of
you
our
should.
series. And so
Yeah.
it says here there was 120 to 150 people that met at the Bilderberg 2025, and one of the topics that is true that was discussed is depopulation and migration, listed as the official 2025 Bilderberg meeting.
Yeah,
And that's just coming from AI.
yeah. So
that's interesting.
that's what they speak about. And if you Google UN migration policy, it's a 9-page PDF written in the late 90s, early 2000s. They openly talk about flooding the zone with non-naturalized migrants in an attempt to replenish populations that are depopulating. And that's what that 9-page document talks about. When the 193 countries met in Rio in 1992 for the Sustainability Summit, they were talking about all this then as what we were working towards.
So I mean, I don't pay attention to politics at all. So
Yeah.
I'm like 5 years old on this whole subject. But the whole like communistic mayors,
Yeah.
like I've never even heard that until right now. Like why, first of all, like if you're American and you're applying to be a mayor, like wouldn't it be suicide?
Well, neither
to,
of them
like,
are technically
be communistic?
American, right? Neither of them are technically American, depending how you read that. One is off the boat Somalian. One is off the boat. I don't know his ethnicity offhand, but they are immigrants here, and depending on how you look at that, whether they're legal or not. But when you look at it from a young person perspective, and the average home in Denver is $655,000, and you're told by the boomers to just work harder and make your dreams happen, and eggs are $8 and gas is $4. And, again, I mean, a lot of people thought that we'd be in a much different spot by now, 6.5 months in, and we ain't.
Yeah.
People are going to look elsewhere, and that's kind of the divide and conquer.
But couldn't isn't that like anti-American
1,000%
to
it
be
is.
a
But you also have
communist?
to realize that it's
Are
not
they openly
really
communists?
100%. Yeah.
So
Like I don't know about any of this.
Yeah.
Are we referring to Zoran Mandami?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I don't even know if I'm saying his name right.
Yeah, and that's why I never say the foreign names because I never really get them right. But
Just gotta say 'em fast.
Yeah.
Now this is
you do.
according to Al Jazeera.
Yeah.
If you use them as a credible source, they say that he has not come out as openly communist, according to this.
Understand on that. He's not came out and said, I am a communist. His policies are communism. Like, he's saying that he's going to do city-run grocery stores. That's communism. He's going to abolish the police completely. That's communism. Like, all this stuff he's saying, his agenda
Abolish the police in New York?
is textbook communism.
The NYPD, that would be a disaster.
Right.
Yeah, that
He's
would
going to
like-
do free housing. Like, this stuff is communism 101.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and the reason he can't say is there's the Communism Protection Act from 1954, and theoretically it's not illegal to be a communist. It would be illegal to be a communist and win an election, theoretically. But again, we're living in all theoretical times because we say in America, but really if you did a definition of what America is and overlaid it of where we're at, we're in a land that's referred to as America,
Yeah.
but it's not an American operating system as per the Constitution. We're just not. I mean, for as much as I can criticize the Trump administration, he's being blocked by judges that are magistrates, and a judicial is not allowed to just say no to the executive. What they're doing is not even constitutional, but people are so fired up over Trump, not from an empirically based standpoint of saying hey, we can go into the new trade deal in the EU and I can empirically digest that and pull it apart for you. They're just rowdy about Trump being Trump. So they're cheering on the magistrates, who's the judicial saying no to the executive. And that's not what a constitutional republic is. So we're pulling away from that at an accelerated pace right now.
So what is and like sorry, but
Oh,
like
go ahead.
Yeah.
but like I feel like Trump is almost a tactful distraction from what? Like, because if there's greater powers that be, and there's like these different like, or maybe he is the guy that was not in the big club, and like he is causing some waves and disruption. Like,
Yeah, and I have a follow-up question to
you
that.
know,
Yeah.
so I'm
Go
just
ahead.
kind
Shoot
of
'em both
thinking
at
I'm
me.
thinking out loud. Yes,
Yeah.
Kind of piggybacking off what you're saying. Do you believe presidents are selected or elected?
Selected.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that we once we set that tone, now everything kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I do. I would say post Kennedy, and if you're historically accurate, you understand that the Kennedys threw that election, but it was on a very small scale. Not to say a thrown election isn't a thrown election, but it's like a county, right?
Yeah.
At this point, post Kennedy, I think it's not a county; it's just emplaced, right? I learned an interesting fact on
well, like the
USA.
electoral colleges and all that. Like, if it was legit, why are there all these fucking rules?
So
You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be simple.
Well, yeah.
yeah, I mean, there is the latest whistleblower who came out and said, you know, there were ballot printers brought in from China, and Chinese were working those ballot printers with 25,000 fake IDs during the 2020 election to throw that. So they're inside the system. I would argue that a lot of people outside on those concentric rings actually think they're running a free and fair election, but they're not. And the whistleblower points to data saying that the reason that we had Chinese over here throwing our election was because the CIA facilitated it, you know. So, and that's a bold statement. That's a really hard one to swallow. But the people who put that information out have a track record of being, very accurate. But no, there's different ways to swing. You know, if you look at the whistleblower who was in front of Congress speaking about how Google threw can throw elections, and then his wife mysteriously died like a week later after he got told several times, don't speak in front of Congress or we'll start to kill your family. And they did, and they followed through on that. Just the manipulation that social media has can quietly throw an election, let alone actually an aggressive tactic on throwing
So
an election.
beyond the bots and swaying people, like there's a more direct way of doing it.
Yeah, a more direct way. But
Mhm.
yes, at the end of the day, I would say selected.
And
Yeah.
then it has to become a dog and pony show, right? You got to get people riled up about their candidate that they stand behind. Keep the masses divided. He's for this, I'm for that.
Right.
It's like a trickle down effect, like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, it really is. And think like a great word to use is dialectic, and then you can go into the Hegelian dialectic. A dialectic has been used since Roman times, right? So when they would go and throw a country and then overthrow the neighboring country, they'd come over here and they'd be like, psst, 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 these guys think you're dumb. And then they'd go over here and be like, psst, 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 these guys think you're dumb. And then these guys would be like, oh my gosh. And they'd be like, don't worry, we'll sit in the middle and make sure the dummies don't get you, And then they would control people in a very simple manner. It's a dialectic. It's a 1 and a 0 like a computer runs. The Hegelian dialectic is when you get so many of them, they start to overlay on themselves, and it's a spider web. That is Epstein. Right now, people are fighting over dialectics. Did Trump R&T kids or didn't he? And it's like, it doesn't matter. He was in the environment that was. Howard Lutnick, who's in his cabinet, who sat there on the tarmac and was belly laughing when Trump called Epstein a hoax, he was Epstein's neighbor for 20 years.
Yeah.
But don't worry, his press agent put out a presser that said he didn't really ever hang out with him. Oh, okay, cool. So you're an elitist. So your press agent said you didn't know the guy, so I'm a dummy in the dialectic, so now I have to believe that. That's bullshit.
Yeah, it really is. I have a theory here, too, that I think could happen. I think Ghislaine Maxwell could come out and say, Trump had no involvement. I was there, never saw him.
Yeah.
And then she gets pardoned and the whole thing goes away.
I absolutely agree with that and think it's a high probable event on the list of probabilities right now.
Of the clown world.
Yeah, of the clown world. You know, here
It's time for a
here,
nose.
here we go. Like, okay, look, like there, right? Like we're clowning out right now, right? Like, oh my gosh, Howard Lutnick, the neighbor of Epstein for 20 years, didn't know. That's bullshit. Cindy McCain came out sitting on a stage at like a CFR event and was like, oh yeah, Epstein, we all knew what he was doing. You can pull that clip up. Pull it up. Ask AI. It'll be like, yeah, Cindy McCain, I don't think was R&T'ing children. Cindy McCain was in the group of people that were, and she openly admitted it. So to say that you were in that group of people and say, that's utter bullshit.
Well, and so going back to the blackmail thing, right? That's the other piece of it, of why you would keep this information, it was a hoax, or we're not going to release it. We're going to protect it, because if that comes out, just like everything else, people can't handle this information.
Absolutely. And so here's the other point that's really just made me what people call blackpilled. I almost didn't vote in this last election. I wrote in for Rand Paul. I had FOMO for like a week afterwards, like, oh, I should have voted for Trump. Like, and then I just had a gut feeling that I was like, no. And now I'm just like, I'm so glad. I will never vote again because I just won't. I'm out. I'm done. I'm out.
I like that. I think a lot of people are going to join that.
Yeah, I really do. And dang on it, I had a point there, and I'm sorry, it'll pop back into my head. But it's getting to the point where people are looking at this charade, and it's over. I mean, it's getting drug out because it's like going through a breakup.
With the Epstein charade, or just
a charade is in general.
Country.
Just a charade is
clown
a country. It's the clown show.
And we're on season whatever.
What is ridiculous, because it's almost 20 years ago when they bailed out all the banks and
right, and no one went to jail.
All the tax money is bailing out the bank.
Right. And again, it's one of these things. Don't worry, we're gonna get to it.
And that was almost 20 years ago. What else have they done?
Even just this clown show about Obama, Comey, Brennan, and Hillary are going to get indicted and go to jail. Let me just save everyone the energy. No, they're not. They're not.
Just like everyone thought Trump was going to be in prison. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, they're just not. Guys, it's
not going to happen.
It's not. It just isn't.
So what do you say to the people that get physically angry? Because Trump is not a good human being. I'll say that. I don't care who agrees or doesn't agree. But the people who are getting extremely upset about his presence.
I mean, they're just playing into the overall system. I mean, Joe Biden R&T'd his daughter. It was on page 67 and 68 of her diary that she admitted was hers, called James O'Keefe and asked to have it back. And the voice sample and the handwriting samples all agreed that it was hers. And she even said it was hers. Okay, so I didn't allow myself to get so drawn into that situation that I would be adding to it. Joe Biden is a repulsive human being. He ardent'd his daughter in the shower constantly at a young age. But to just be physically ill over Trump for these surface level reasons that are nonsensical, and most of them are fictitious, is adding into the dialectic.
Oh wait, yeah, the dialectic. That's what it's called.
That's it.
And it's
adding into.
It's like a proxy war almost.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like something similar to that.
Yeah, 100%.
But just with psychology.
Yeah, I mean, it really is, because look, the PP tape was false. Russia was false, right? The impeachment 1 and impeachment 2 were hoaxes. They were based on false evidence. But then you have the other side of the dialectic going, oh, we're going to prove it. Durham. Remember Durham, the Durham report? And the literal MAGA people were like, Durham's sent here by God. He's going to investigate and everyone's going to jail. Durham investigated it, saw all the evidence that Tulsi Gabbard is now releasing to the public. And Durham was like, I don't see anything wrong. And he went on his way.
It's the same shit with the. I mean, a lot of people voted for Trump because they wanted the Epstein transparency.
Right.
Not
And
happening.
it's not going to happen.
It's not happening.
Like, it's just not, right? Because we're moving into the fourth turning. The new operating system is coming. The kill grid is already in place. We're seeing that. Did you see the latest study from Japan?
The kill grid.
The kill grid. The kill grid's here. The control grid's coming in. Professor Emeritus of Japan University. Look up what Professor Emeritus means and read that off. He just agreed to the latest peer-reviewed study, 600,000 people dead from the V word we're not allowed to say.
Yeah.
600,000 people in Japan, 193 countries injected that into people. Do the math.
What was the professor's name again?
Professor Emeritus. Just read what Professor Emeritus means. When you're a Professor Emeritus, you're not dumb. Let me just say that. You're not dumb if you're a Professor Emeritus.
I don't think I'm spelling it right.
E-M Emeritus. Yeah, it means high-level operator. Like, you're the man when you're a Professor Emeritus. He's a Professor Emeritus of the University of Japan. He ain't a dumb guy. So when he comes out and signs off on a peer-reviewed study, it's legit. It's unarguable. It's legit.
Yeah, a retired professor who retains their academic title as an honorary position.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Like, you're legit.
And so
but isn't he like is in danger for
being eliminated?
Yeah, if you watch how many like people the previous prime minister, they whacked him. Remember with that homemade shotgun? Pull up how many leaders in Africa ended up dead because they wouldn't participate in COVID. It's like 6. They've been whacking people steadily, like just getting after it. We talked about that. Remember Mark Middleton, who committed suicide by hanging himself with an electric cord, pointed a shotgun at his stomach and blew a hole out his back? Like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Like, they're steady whacking people right now.
And that's what makes it kind of crazy being a podcaster talking about this stuff too, because it's almost like
it seems fictitious.
But like sometimes I feel like I'm really like we're onto something with the conversation, and like we're breaking through like a way of looking at something, and it like almost I have like my own layer of apprehension being a host on this show, because sometimes we get into these layers of truth that like I feel like like they don't want it out there, whoever they is.
Yeah, and
there's no question.
That's self-censoring, right? And people think DEI is gone. It's not. They removed DEI and they replaced it with anti-Semitism.
It's basically what it is.
Same thing. Yeah. It's the same thing, right?
What was DEI?
DEI was diversity, equity, inclusion, which people called wokeness. Okay, cool. We've celebrated. They removed that. They just replaced it with anti-Semitism. In Australia, now if you're considered an anti-Semite, there's a whole list of things. They're going to kick your door in. They're going to pull you out of home.
Like the law will do this?
Oh, 100%. In the United Kingdom, 30 people a day have their door kicked in and are pulled out of their homes, and they go straight to jail for offensive comments about illegals entering their country, right? In Norway, a gal who was being R'd and T'd in a public park maced the guy who was R&T'ing her. She went to jail. In Germany, just this month, the gal was at court and called her R&T'er a pig. She got a longer jail sentence than he did.
I haven't heard any of this.
Like, that's insanity. Yeah. It's insane clown world right now.
It is. And meanwhile, we just keep looking over here, keep watching your Netflix, and
keep thinking that Obama's going to jail for treason.
And that Trump is the second coming.
So now Obama's going to jail for treason?
Here, for all the people, these gloves are for all the people who think Obama's going to jail for treason. Because let me tell you something, he ain't.
Gloves are going on,
Here's
guys.
my Obama gloves right here, right? Here's my Obama is going to be eating hot dogs in Martha Vineyard, not worried about going to jail, because he's not. He's not.
No, it's not going to
So
happen.
the kill grid's in place, right? Pull up Catherine Austin Fitch. She ran HUD during the Bush administration, and she's an analytical mastermind. She made a ton of money on Wall Street. She started going, boy, this is weird. A bunch of money's moving out of the federal government and really shouldn't be. She discovered that HUD is a money laundering operation. So your public housing garbage, they were pulling money out. 1998. What happened September 10th, 2011? Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, one of those, I have the D in my head, got up because they audited the Pentagon. And he said, there's $2.7 trillion missing. Dang on it, we missed. We're going to find it. Next day, September 11th happened. The Pentagon has not been audited since. And it never will be. Because they found the black budget money thanks to people like Catherine Austin Fitch. She's kept her eyes on it the whole time. She's now analyzing the systems that are going into place. The control grid is coming. There's a reason that Peter Thiel and Larry Ellison...
can you identify like this control grid?
Yeah, 100%. If you want to see the control grid, drive around Littleton, Aurora, Highlands Ranch, okay, and keep your eyes on the street lights. What you're going to see is what looks like a traditional street light, and then every so many, you're going to see a street light with a giant long can on it.
Yeah, I've seen those.
I think we've talked about this.
That's the control grid.
Didn't we talk about that last time?
That's scraping all the cell phone data right off you. They're nodes. Those are all talking to each other. The low orbit satellites that Elon Musk has been so gracious to dump into our sky, that's part of the control grid.
Yep.
The Peter Thiel...
control grid is our data.
The control grid is a system going into place to make sure we're compliant.
Okay. So like more like what's been happening in China with like the facial recognition and like you can't leave your house without your cell phone and stuff like that.
Coming. Yeah. Sam Altman just got a $200 million contract from the DoD. Larry Ellison, the CEO of Oracle, has been quoted saying, I don't even know why we need police anymore. We can just control people through the control grid. Peter Thiel is quoted as saying, and paraphrasing, I can't even imagine democracy is so antiquated. Just that the tech people just need to step in and run the show. Who do you think's at the White House right now? All three of them. Right now.
And Elon Musk was there earlier this year.
Yeah, and Doge, all Doge was doing was a data scraping initiative.
Yeah, I pretty much learned that was another scam.
Yeah.
In the scheme of things.
Because so all the money he cut, where'd it go? It didn't get cut. Where'd it go? It went right to the DoD. It all went to defense spending. Yeah. And did you notice they didn't take a dime from USAID? All the money that goes from USAID to Israel, they just forgot to mention that money, right? They just didn't talk about it. Who's the number one importer of illegal immigrants through the southern border? HIAS, Hebrew Immigration Society. Number one. Where do they get their money? From USAID. Right there. HIAS has their signs hanging out in front of the Chinese base camps down in the Darien Gap where all the people funnel through. It's a scam. Doge was a scam.
So
it's a scam.
It was a scam, right?
In that scenario, like we're paying our own immigration. Like we've been paying for our own illegal immigration to occur.
Yeah, you're funding it.
Funding the problem.
Here's another fun one that they found out in Doge. When Bernie Sanders, when they went to him and they said, look, man, you ain't running in 16. Just pipe down. He went, millionaires and billionaires, millionaires and billionaires. They gave him USAID transferred $26 million into an LLC, a business. And guess who runs the business? Good old millionaires and billionaires. Millionaires and billionaires.
Pretty good.
That's what they use that money for.
I mean, okay, so like I have a moral dilemma here.
Yeah.
Because I feel like basically if you go far enough with this type of information and actually have it digested by people, then like one, you're threatened or they try to bribe you. And then it's
blackmail,
like
yeah.
Extortion.
So it's like then what would you do? Like what would you actually do if like someone approached you and was like, hey, either I could give you this hush money and you're set for life, or you can keep pursuing this and we're going to threaten your family.
Actively take you down.
Yeah, so a great guy to listen to is Martin Armstrong, right? Martin Armstrong is, look him up. He's a world-renowned financial and economic advisor.
Let's take a look at his net worth.
Ronald Armstrong?
Martin Armstrong.
Martin A. Armstrong?
Martin super brilliant. Armstrong. And before AI was a thing, he created a computer program called Socrates, and he feeds it information on news articles, trends, etc. And Socrates has a high probability of accuracy of predicting events. We can get into that in a moment. When the EU came together and people, air quotes, voted, which they really didn't, because the German prime minister at the time on his deathbed was like, yeah, I told them they voted to come into the EU and actually we had lost, but I did it anyway, right? So selected. When the EU came together from Europe to the European Union and they're like, well, we need a currency, his phone rang and he consulted on how to build a currency over there. That's the level he's at. Monthly, he consults every central bank around the world. That's the level he's at. To your point, when the Soviet Union collapsed and money was rushing in to assume control, they called Martin Armstrong and said, we need 10 billion, put a fund together and we'll make sure you return 100 billion. And he went, nah.
He did 11 years in jail.
He did 11 years in jail.
Felony investment fraud.
Because he said no. And they hung felony investment fraud falsely around his neck. And he did 11 years because he said no to the beast system. George Soros took that deal and he took money over to the collapsed Soviet Union. He's crooked as fuck.
So it's like, you know.
And Martin Armstrong ain't the kind of guy that needs to be doing 11 years in the federal pen. He's a very soft-spoken, nerdy dude. Super smart. And he says what Catherine Austin Fitch is saying is accurate. Martin Armstrong is also saying, here's an important point. In the early 2000s, Martin Armstrong said, keep your eyes on 2014, war's coming. In 2013, he said, war's coming in 2014 in the Ukraine. 2014, Victoria Nuland launched the Maidan coup in Ukraine, and the CIA went in and flipped their democratically elected government, Yanukovych, threw him out and started the several presidential people until we got to Zelensky. His Socrates program predicted that. Martin Armstrong 2 weeks ago was on the podcast circuit. Zero Heads featured it. He said it's 100% probability war escalates in August and 100% probable that we go nuclear. 2 days ago, Trump just came out at the EU, and what'd he say? Well, I gave Putin 50 days, but I'm going to give him 10 to 12. 50 days was September 4th, and now he's giving them 10 to 12. That's dead nuts August. So Martin Armstrong's Socrates computer may very well be damn near accurate.
Yeah, as far as prediction.
Well, that's a scary prediction.
Yeah.
He's never said it before. He does not just throw things against the wall at all. He just doesn't.
Did it say what type of nuclear?
No,
like
but here's the other crazy
there's no way
thing.
we're dropping SAR bombs.
Well, first, you understand that what people call tactical nuclear, the size and scope of them is still pretty robust.
Well, yeah, it's
it's not like farting out a cloud of it's big. So when Alex Jones, so then everyone got Martin Armstrong on, oh my god, and he says the same thing every time.
Sure,
he's very interesting to listen to. He's quirkily brilliant. But him and Alex Jones were riffing, and they were like, yeah, the Russians have this type of nuclear torpedo that goes down to the bottom of the sea, blows up, and causes a tsunami on the coastlines. That damn earthquake in Russia last night, that 8.8. Now, granted, it's on an actual fault line, but as soon as I heard that, my ear was to the street, and I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. It was just an interesting couple of data points that don't really line up at this point because that fault line has been barking quite a bit.
Third biggest earthquake in world history.
Yeah.
Just
it's set that if it blows a 9, which it could, it would be super catastrophic.
Oh, well, the tsunami, I think, is hitting Hawaii as we speak.
Yeah.
So hopefully everyone there is doing okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Thoughts and prayers to those people. So, it's a cluster.
Yeah.
It's a grab bag right now. I'm pretty disappointed. I voted for Obama round 1 because in 2007 he was on the campaign trail saying, elect me and I'll shut down the NSA and we'll defund the CIA and we'll, redo the FBI. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. If we don't do this, our country is fucked.
All the campaign promises that
and I voted for him knowing all right, I'll know in 6 months, and it's just not even close. Didn't vote for Trump in 16 because I didn't want to be disappointed. Voted in 2020. I was like, all right, I'll give this thing a shot. And I'm so glad I didn't vote for him in 2024 because it's just not there. The populism sheen is rubbed off. It's just not there.
So do you think when they tried to end his life early when he was on that stage, who orchestrated that, or was it just some guy?
Was it Blackstone had involvement with
You
that?
know, or
Now, I would say it absolutely had intelligence community written all over it.
Well, it wasn't Thomas Matthew Crooks, the killer, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he not a CIA?
BlackRock.
Yeah, BlackRock.
Yeah.
That's BlackRock.
Yeah.
He did a commercial for them.
Yeah,
Which is the CIA.
he did, which is crazy. Also,
Yeah.
his house was sanitized when they went over there. Everything was removed and completely wiped down.
That's concerning.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you could sit there and watch the videos. They're like gun, 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 gun. It's like 45 seconds. I do not buy into the theory that it was faked and that it was like a on his ear. I
so
think that they were
he was
legitimately
actually trying to get him.
I do.
I believe that too, just
Yeah.
based on simple firearms and angle
Yeah.
of trajectory.
And also the fella that's no longer with us, and I
He
don't know
died,
his name, and I apologize for not knowing
He was
his
a
name.
firefighter, so
Yeah.
So he caught that bullet.
Killed him.
One of them, yeah.
because there was multiple shots fired,
There's 3 or 4 people
Okay.
who were injured, and he was one of them, and he did make it.
and it was a nasty one too.
Yeah.
Blew his head off.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, again, like, it's not like A versus B. Like, there's a conglomerate of people jockeying for power right now. So,
Isn't there like 3 mega companies that own basically everything?
well,
Are they
I mean, if
jockeying
you
or, like-
look at like just BlackRock
Like,
and
who's-
Vanguard, they own 85% of 95% of all publicly traded companies. So even just looking at it like that, and then you have the central banks, right? Like the New York Fed.
that need bailouts?
Well,
Or is that's
it's
not
just,
the central
it's
bank?
just the central banks don't. It's just an antiquated monetary system. I tell you, if you really want to keep your eyes on 2 things for this year, keep your eye on watching the mainstream start to say there's no political solutions, because that I think you're actually going to start to hear.
I think we're already starting to see it.
Yeah, in various manners. 2, keep your eyes on BRICS. BRICS, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, Saudi Arabia. In 2014, Russia was like, hey, the West is just going to keep doing what the West does. Like, they're going to keep sanctioning us. They're going to try and continue to be the military hegemony, the dollar hegemony. Eventually, if we don't want overtaken by this satanic group of pedophilic elite, then we have to create a separate system. There has to be a breakaway system. BRICS was laughed at for a while. Around December of 2021, BRICS is not being laughed at anymore. In this recent BRICS meeting, the legacy, sorry about that, the legacy media came out and they clown showed it, and they said that BRICS was nothing because Xi Jinping and Putin didn't show up, and that's total bullshit. Because I've been binge listening to podcasts of actual journalists, Pulitzer Prize winning journalists, who showed up to all the BRICS meetings, and it was powerful. And it's coming. And they're coming in hot.
And the narrative was nothing happened?
Around.
Nothing that interesting?
Because they said that Putin and Xi Jinping didn't show up, but what they did is they passed the baton over to Lula in Brazil and said, you highlight yourself. And then he highlighted Modi. And then the Modi did so good that Russia and China went, we don't want to be the figurehead. There is no figurehead in BRICS. We're all the figurehead. You host it next year because you did so good. They're not talking about having a currency based on war or oil or Bretton Woods like the U.S. constantly is. They're talking about trading inner currencies and basing currencies off actual physical commodities. When Trump shows up to the EU and he just sits there like a bully and he says, this is the trade deal and you're gonna take it. That doesn't happen in the BRICS summits. They have working groups and panels, and they bring in, women's groups, men's groups, banana groups, orange grower groups, auto groups, and they're like getting together and mixing up the actual global community for trade. You don't see that shit from the West. You see, take it or leave it or we'll bomb you, which we're proving in Syria and Yemen and Gaza right now. It's the same old, same old. It's the post-World War II garbage system that is just not being accepted by anyone anymore. Keep your eye on BRICS.
And what do you think is, when you say keep your eye on it, what's going to come of it?
So BRICS is just creating a competing system where right now in international trade, if I trade something with you, we have to pass currency through the SWIFT system. It's like the International Monetary Fund and the Bank of International Settlements, if you've heard those terms. They're aggregating that to like as a control center, and those are also post-World War II systems of control. BRICS is coming up with their own blockchain platform to pass those through. So you don't have to convert to the US dollar to do trade anymore. You can go direct, consumer to consumer, business to business, country to country.
And do you foresee that further declining the US dollar?
Yeah, at what rate? I don't know. And it's really interesting because people were like, no, it won't, no, it won't, no, it won't, no, it won't. Oh, shit, BRICS. Right? Pepe Escobar.
Shit and bricks.
Yeah.
Shit and bricks.
Pepe Escobar, like, I always give you guys like the cream of the crop. Like, if you listen to who I tell you to listen to, I'm bypassing. I'm giving you the Michael Jordans of that subject on geopolitics. Pepe Escobar is the preeminent.
Pepe Escobar.
Yeah, on BRICS. I listen to him on Dialogue Works, great YouTube channel, and also Danny Haifeng on YouTube as well. He's a regular guest. He's also a regular guest on Judge Napolitano. Judge Napolitano is having a breakout year because he's not culting out over MAGA. Like, him and Trump were close. He's saying it like it is. And Judge Napolitano is bringing on a lot of A-plus guests as well. But BRICS is legit. To say, are they going to overthrow the dollar today?
So do you support BRICS?
No. It's so to not answer that like in a dialectic and say, no, because it's a foreign thing. Like, I understand the devastation that a successful BRICS would bring to the U.S. And I'm a diehard old school American, classically liberal. I support the concept of BRICS because BRICS at a certain level has tones of classical liberalism to it. Classical liberalism, our founding fathers were, in a sense, quite a bit classically liberal.
Yeah.
When they wrote the Constitution.
And kind of to talk somewhat similarly, like I from Colorado, I feel so blessed. Like I live in the best place. I've grown up in the best place. Like that's how I feel about being a native to Colorado and an American. However, if I was looking at it from the Chinese perspective and the island chains that they have out there and the potential maritime traffic choke points that are available and how the United States controls and how like even how NATO is like on all these different bases, which is like super close.
Right.
I mean, we had like one Russian base like in Cuba and there was like this whole freak out. Well, we're already and have been doing that.
Correct.
And so I understand how these foreign countries like are looking at this as aggressive and like controlling. So, and I think that it is a corrupt system. So does it help to have this equal counterpart that is trying to help steer the world? So I can see the different perspectives, even though like I feel fortunate to be an American.
Yeah.
And like I feel like I've grown up in the best country. Like that's how I feel. But maybe I'm also conditioned in a certain sense. So it's like, it's kind of,
and it's hard too, right? Because you can be thankful for having all the opportunities that this country provides, but still hyper aware that they're evaporating. They've been pissed away. And let me just touch on something quick because you brought up corruption again. So here's a concept I've been rolling around for I think you guys invited me on like about 2 weeks ago. And I never really plan on what I'm saying. I just make sure I'm ready to come in and have a solid conversation, right? Because I appreciate the time in the studio.
Thank you.
So I started thinking, I was like, we talk about this activity in our government, in our politicians, and we use these words that are words we use to describe crime. And I don't think it's criminal. I think it's acts of war. So then I started thinking, what's the difference between crime and war? And I rolled that around for a couple of days, and I came up with 2 metrics that I think distinguish acts of crime and acts of war. And I think it's intensity and it's oh man, I had this all ready to go. It's intensity and it's volume. Volume and intensity. And here's what I mean by that. I'm glad I remembered volume. I had this all ready to go. Volume and intensity. We finish the show, we walk out in the parking lot, hug it out, great 300, and we look over there and the liquor store is burning down. And someone's got a can of gas and a match. What do we call that? Arson. Arson is a criminal offense. In World War II, when the American bombers flew over Dresden and killed 400,000 civilians by lighting them on fire with incendiary rounds, burning human bodies down to just goop and fat, we call that war. If someone robs a bank at gunpoint and shoots someone and kills them, we call that armed robbery and murder. When we roll tanks into a foreign country and steal their gold reserves and slaughter 1 million civilians, we call it war. Volume, intensity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a good breakdown.
What we're seeing in Washington, D.C. is war. It's not crime, it's war. COVID was war. The volume and intensity of COVID was an act of war. We're seeing acts of war. USAID was not criminal, it was an act of war. Volume and intensity are acts of war. We're seeing war. People in Washington are not politicians, they're war fighters. And they know they're at war. They're proud to be at war. Ted Cruz on Tucker Carlson said he's at war with you. What'd he say? My whole goal in getting elected to Congress was to make sure Israel is the greatest country ever. It's an act of war against this country.
Yeah.
Tammy Bruce, Assistant Secretary to Secretary of Defense, said, I'm so glad to serve in this administration. I work for the second best country in the world, second to Israel. That's an act of war. Nancy Pelosi doing so much insider trading, she took her small little $175,000 a year salary into $300 million is an act of war. They're war fighters.
And then the funding keeps coming. Right?
Keeps
So, like,
coming.
look at Saudi Arabia and Qatar.
Because we're trying to fight crime, not war.
We're trying to fight crime, not war.
Yeah. And when you go to war, you get so many excuses when you're at war.
Of course.
Well, you did this. I was at war. Okay.
Yeah. You messed with our adversary. Now we
I
bombed.
was at war.
Yeah.
I mean, listen to him. Dan Crenshaw, One-Eyed Dan.
Yeah. Dan Crenshaw.
Hey, you're an insider trader. Of course I am. What? Of course I am. I'm here. I'm Crenshaw. You need me. I only get paid $175,000 a year. Of course I am. Act of war.
So who's that war against then?
It's us in our country.
Against keeping people like
from being actual Americans and actually getting our birthright out of this country.
Like in debt and like
in the kill grid, in the coming control grid.
Control, yep.
Yeah, it's an act of war. When Congress said, hey, we can show you where all the Ukraine money went, who embezzled it, who it kicked back to, whose bank accounts are full, but by golly, we can't. And what'd they say? We can't, because if we do, you'd lose your full faith in the American government and this country would collapse. That's fucking war. That's war.
Textbook.
That's an act of war. If not for, that's legalese. If not for our acts of war, our criminality, our satanic worshiping pedophile acts on Epstein Island, you would not get this. Without this, you don't get this. They literally said that.
Yeah.
They said it out loud. They said the same thing about Epstein Island, too. We can't tell you who was on that island because it would collapse the stock market and you'd lose faith in your government.
I'd rather lose faith.
Yeah, but it would be an utter collapse. Like we keep saying, people can't handle this information.
I mean, what happens if the stock market crashes?
Oh, well, that's big money.
I mean,
we obviously saw it in 2008. That's why they put in that basically a backstop now that can't drop more than a certain percentage.
I don't have any money in the stock market.
I have a lot of it in the stock market.
I do too, and I like the idea of the stock market.
Yeah.
It's just these excuses.
But apparently the stock market is all self-controlled too. Like if the BlackRock owns 95% of the companies
Vanguard.
that are whatever and like this and that, like they're just it's all inside trading.
It's
like all just monopoly money to them.
Yes, it definitely is monopoly money. You can also have an honest stock market. But when you hear these war fighters say such things, it should shock people to the core. because it's an if not then moment. If not for this, you don't get $4 gas, $10
Right.
eggs, $600,000 homes,
Tit for tat.
90-hour work weeks, hyper surveillance, COVID JABs, masks 6 feet apart, a B2 video to bomb Iran. Like, you don't get that if we don't get this. Oh, okay, deal.
Yep.
Deal.
Just look the other way.
Deal.
Everything will be fine.
Deal. I'll go back to the Stone Age for 50 years if that's what it takes to shock this country out of this.
It's going to take something like that, I think, to ultimately correct the course of where we're headed.
Yeah, because it's war. It's not crime, it's war.
I don't think it will happen. I mean, who was it that said that World War III would be fought with sticks and stones?
I believe Einstein said, I don't know what World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks
there
and
it is.
stones.
That's the quote.
Yeah.
Let that resonate. You know? At some point, there has to be Control Alt Delete. You got to reboot the system. Start over.
Yep. And, you know, when I see Larry Ellison, Sam Altman, Peter Thiel, let's just discuss Peter Thiel for a second. When we went to Iraq for the second time, because remember how much fun it was to say that Saddam Hussein calls 9/11? That was a hoot, right? That was a clown moment there. Oh, wait, no, he didn't. Osama bin Laden did, so we bounced over there, right? The poppy fields in Afghanistan, we did not burn them to the ground at all. We put the drug lords in charge, and they grew poppies for the intelligence community, who then shipped it around the world and put money into their black budget. That's a fact. That money in the black budget also funded Palantir, and Palantir went out into the desert and built the AI system that's now flying over Gaza, dropping bombs on civilians. That's why that war drug out for 20 years. It was R&D. They were R&Ding all this AI stuff. AI is not new. AI was being developed in the deserts in Afghanistan, funded by the poppy fields. The Peter Thiel Lavender system has drones flying over Gaza, and what it does is it creates a social credit score for you. And in that social credit score, it tells the AI beast system what your value is. Are you valuable dumb bomb or smart bomb, anywhere in between? And the more value you have, the more collateral damage the system is allowed to cause to get you. That was developed in Afghanistan. That's what Palantir is. Palantir just connected with all the Doge data that was scraped, and they just got a government contract.
And Peter Thiel was the co-founder of PayPal, right?
Correct.
Who was also co-founded by Elon Musk.
Correct. The PayPal mafia. Correct. And Peter Thiel sued a journalist publication, I was right in my head, starts with a G, in 2007 because they outed him as a homosexual. So Peter Thiel was also involved with Jeffrey Epstein through 2013 through 14 heavily. In 2015, Epstein's butler, Alfredo Rodriguez, came out and said, I got the black book. I got the black book that Epstein's assistants put together for him, and I'm going to circle all these names of the high-level players. Donald Trump was a name he circled, and he took it to Epstein's lawyers because he wanted to sell it. They put the FBI on him. In 2015, he went to jail, and he mysteriously died in jail. 2015-16, Trump announced his run for president. Alan Dershowitz's name was circled. The French guy's name was circled, who went to jail and also suicided himself. All these names of different people.
I think the Clintons were involved
as high-level players,
right?
Oh, I would totally.
I mean, from some of the photo evidence I've seen, he was there.
Totally.
So you'd imagine. But
so this is the layer that the supposed crime, that's actual warfare, goes. You know, Wilbur Ross, the guy who bailed out Trump and who had connections to the CIA, you know, he was the Commerce Secretary as a thank you. Right?
So, like, how do you like stop being a civilian and become a warrior and like fight for this?
Yeah, I mean, you know,
taken out
at this point,
like,
you know,
is this it? Are we like pinnacle?
I mean, you got to understand,
what we're doing here?
Know, people who didn't participate in COVID, especially the JAB, you made it through trillions of dollars of effort to get you to put that in your body. trillions. That was an act of fighting that war. Keeping your small business open during COVID was an act of fighting that war. Here's another interesting thing that Catherine Austin Fitch goes into. In 2019, the credit repo window was about to collapse. I can't accurately describe that to you, but if you think about it like the gold window before we went off the gold standard, foreign countries were coming over and saying, we don't believe in your country anymore. We want our gold back. We want to reappropriate our gold. So much gold was going out of the system that they looked at it and they're like, holy shit, our dollar's based on gold. We have to start to refuse this. Then they want to go to war. We can't do this anymore. That's when Nixon went over to Saudi Arabia and said, hey, we need to peg the dollar to something. We're going to peg it to your oil. Then we're going to ship a bunch of weapons over here and no one's going to fuck with you in the Middle East. And they said, okay, that's the oil standard. Then in order to protect that, we started to build military bases all over the world and wage war anytime someone like Gaddafi, murderous Muammar, had the audacity to say, we're going to do our own oil. In 1970s in Iran, they said they're going to do their oil, and British Petroleum called up the CIA and said, come whack everybody, and they did. It's why we're in war in Syria. That's been the stability of our dollar. That's drying up. That system is evaporating.
But that's what's weird though, because the dollar is like just created by the IRS, and it like literally
by the central banks.
And
central banks.
Yeah,
well,
the Federal Reserve, which isn't federal nor a reserve.
Yeah,
right.
So yeah, not the IRS.
Yeah,
is correct. It the IRS?
No, the IRS is the collection agency for the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, and the Federal Reserve is not
unconstitutional. Yeah, the IRS is an act of war.
By the way, they didn't change interest rates today either. That's been announced today. Shocking, right?
Shocking, right?
Another
Were they supposed to?
Yeah.
So in 2019, the credit repo window, similar to the gold window, was getting ready to kaputsies, right? So that meant that the jig from 08 is up, right? Because 08 was pretty much, they could have let that thing bottom out. We would have needed a new financial system. They didn't. They propped it up. 2019, we were about to have another one. They didn't want it. What happened? COVID. What COVID was a move of liquidity. You also have to understand an important point. People will look at politicians, war fighters, and they'll go, gosh, they're so stupid. No, they're fucking not. No, they're not. When they said that mom and pop's ice cream store can't stay open because it's high risk to get COVID, but Home Depot can, and you can rub up against each other and it doesn't matter, you ain't going to get COVID, that's not an act of stupidity, it's an act of fucking war. 35% of small businesses closed down. That moved the liquidity to the publicly traded companies. That was a liquidity move to keep the financial system up and running. Why do you think all publicly traded companies were allowed to stay open while everyone else had to shut down?
He's not wrong. You go to Home Depot, you go to Lowe's.
It was a financial move, not
huge
a
transfer
virus.
of wealth.
And then they printed money, and then they came out with government programs to buy PPE, and they just kept shoveling liquidity into the system. That's what COVID was.
Yeah, looking at it from a financial perspective.
Yeah, along with the great poisoning to dumb people down for the coming kill grid and control grid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what COVID was.
And we covered that a lot, and I've said my opinions on COVID on here a lot. People know where I stand. Very close to you on that. It's just amazing to me that it's 2025.
Yeah.
And we've got measles and other things now and mad cow. And I overheard you saying something about that earlier.
Yeah, my aunt passed away from mad cow disease.
R.I.P. to that.
Right.
I mean, obviously, sorry for your loss.
How does that happen? Oh, I know how it happened. No one wanted to hear how it happened.
Right.
I wasn't even allowed to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Said it to one person in my family, and they went, okay, cool, you got it off your chest, you done? Yeah. And I'm like, we're at war.
Connect the dots.
Mad cow disease? Come on.
Yep.
Oh, it's rare. No, it isn't.
Yeah, connect the dots. You know, is what I would tell the listeners on that without saying it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just kind of tiptoeing around that so this episode doesn't get removed.
Yeah, and you can edit that out if you need to.
No, I think we'll be all right.
It's just one of those things, like, we're in 2025 and just the clown show it don't have breaks.
It just rolls on.
It's not meant to have breaks.
It
Correct.
just rolls
Thank
on.
you for that.
What do you think about, we're running low on time, but and we didn't get into everything I wanted to, but what do you think about RFK Jr.?
I was semi-pumped about him and even had my eye on him as like a him and Gabbert run. And I was like, cool, I really think I'm going to cast a vote in his direction. And I just continued to study. And the part that I decided, several reasons that I wouldn't vote for MAGA. One, he continues to say the previous conversation is okay. Don't look here. What we just got done talking about, won't even rehash it. And two is unrelenting support for Israel. And when I saw who RFK Jr.'s main campaign manager, Rabbi Shmuley, was, I was completely abandoned ship. Rabbi Shmuley is speaking at CPAC. He has an in with most politicians, and he's an international kosher dildo salesman.
Interesting.
Kosher dildos.
Correct. You heard it
blessed
right.
by
Yeah, you heard
a
it right.
rabbi.
They're kosher butt plug dildos that he sells with his daughter. What's this guy? How's this guy at the upper echelon of politics?
Yeah.
It's almost a rhetorical question, isn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of wild. I mean, there's a business there for sure. You know, I mean, there is, but that's wild.
Well, why is he speaking to CPAC? I thought CPAC was for conservatives. What's he conserving?
Right.
Boy, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's a fair question.
Right. And then you
And
look
I didn't
at
even know that information.
100%. Here's another fun fact, two fun facts. Tim Scott is essentially a closet homosexual, right? And when people started to call him out for that, hey man, I thought you were a conservative. Why don't you ever have a girlfriend? If you're gay, just come out and say you're gay. But don't be a closet homosexual. Just come out and say you're gay. Well, he wouldn't. He started saying, well, I got a girlfriend. Well, where's your girlfriend? Oh, we go out on dates. Where's she at? Nobody sees you with her. Oh, look, I got a girlfriend and she's my fiance. Boy, that happened quick. She's off the boat Israeli.
Interesting.
Huh. Boy, that's interesting, right? And then you look at Kash Patel. He's no longer married. Why is that? Kash Patel was married for 3 years. If you Google his original wife's name, you can't find pictures of her, but you do find a picture of his new girlfriend. He met this new supposed girlfriend at a conservative talking event. She was part of Unit 8200 in Israel. If you don't know what Unit 8200 is, look it up.
Yeah.
You know what SEAL Team 6 is? Unit 8200 is the intelligence gathering equivalent, non-combatant equivalent of SEAL Team 6 in Israel. So she had an affair with Cash, got him to get a divorce, and now she's his handler. Just like Tim Scott got a handler.
And for people that don't know who Kash Patel is, he is the director of the FBI.
Correct.
And oversees the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms industry.
Who wrote a book called Government Gangsters.
So that's interesting.
Just get Trump elected again, and we're going to get these government gangsters. And then when that book started to make his way, and he was government gangsters all over the podcast, someone from 8200 had an affair with them. Guess how he votes now? Guess how Tim Scott votes now?
It's all corruption, bro.
Guess how Lindsey Graham votes now?
Yeah.
Right?
It's just unfortunate that,
it's bananas.
It's good to get this shit out there.
Yeah. Look at Randy Fine. He's Trump supported. He wrote right on his Twitter, Israel doesn't have to buy me. I work for them for free, although they do pay me a lot of money. Randy Fine is getting into discussions on Twitter, and people send him pictures of the dead kids in Palestine, and he goes, I love seeing it. Send me more.
Sick.
He's an elected congressman.
Yeah, it's sick.
You know, and you sit there and you're like, this is just not even like when people say corruption, they're talking about some of the stuff that was going on in the 80s and 90s. And again, I'm sure more was going on, but how people thought, all right, you're there, but you're getting things done and there's little shenanigans and we'll overlook it. That is not what is going on right now. Currently, we're light years away from that.
Sure.
Light years.
And there's been whistleblowers here and there that are giving enough tidbit of information to put all this together.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've researched this enough to paint the whole picture
right.
for me to see.
Yep. And what happens is, and it's a tactic in communism, is the people committing these crimes in warfare will hold you to the morality that regular society has all agreed to. Like right now, we're all within a realm of moral people, right? Like we're all 85% good guys. We get a little squirrely here and there, but we're good people, right? These people hold that against you, tell you that you have to act in this moral sense towards them as they operate on a completely different plane that is, in a word, demonic, while holding this sense of morality to you and how you have to treat them. And they're getting away with things that are almost immeasurable.
A higher volume and intensity.
Correct.
Higher volume and intensity.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen, so here's a fun fact. There's been more journalists killed by the IDF in Palestine since the war started in October 7th than all other wars in recent history combined. The IDF is shooting to kill journalists over there purposely.
That's crazy.
It's a hell of a statistic. The aid people, there's been aid trucks where the drones are following them for over an hour and they're well marked and on an established trail and they just blow them up.
Wow.
The aid workers who have survived are saying batches of children are coming in and one day they decide to shoot them in the gut. One day they have target practice on their left leg and that's just what they do. They get a different target to shoot every day. And Congress, the only congressperson who does not have an APAC handler is Thomas Massey. Every other person in Congress has an APAC handler. Every single one.
He's the only one.
Only one. Yeah. Yep. And he's being thrown out by MAGA right now.
Well, of
Because
course.
he's not MAGA enough. He's the only populist in Congress. So again, you just ask yourself, you're like, this is really where we're at in this cycle.
This is all concerning.
It's hyper concerning.
It's very concerning.
It's hyper concerning.
Yeah.
Because it's accelerating.
It is.
You
And
know?
it's really tough for people to digest that information.
Yeah.
Because we are just scraping the surface here. I mean,
We are.
from the COVID stuff that we've
we're
covered for
touching
years.
on so many subjects and jumping around.
People get uncomfortable because they don't want to accept a new sense of what could be. I've
Yeah.
been fooled. Right?
Right.
Like the clown show. Like
Yeah.
it's a there it is.
Here's where we were in 2019 and here's where we're at right now, y'all. It's undeniable. We're here.
And it's going to continue.
And it's going to continue. And a lot of
This train don't have
to
brakes.
just come in here and drop 5 pepper spice is we talked in the last episode, and I think it's super pertinent. Normalcy bias and cognitive dissonance. When
Yep.
your brain blows a fuse because it just can't keep up with the crime/warfare that's being waged against you. Well, go through the conversation tonight and see how many times your brain tried to come back up here because so many listeners are down here.
Oh, sure.
How many times did your brain blow a fuse and you're like, it can't really be true? Dude, type this stuff into AI. I'm not lying to you.
Yeah, that was going to be the other piece I was going to say is,
pull up Grok.
yeah. I mean, I was trying to keep up with as much as I could as we were going through it.
And it's all accurate.
A lot of it was checking out, and you can listen to the podcast. I would just encourage listeners of yours, as I've said for many years, even pre-COVID, do your own research and make educated decisions for yourself. Don't take media at face value, what you're being sold.
Yeah.
I mean, there's I hate to throw my parents under the bus here, but they still believe what's on the news.
Oh.
Going back to the boomers.
Dude, the boomer fatigue.
I love you, Mom and Dad, but they just soak it up. Oh, did you see this on the news?
Right. And if you really watch, it's super interesting because they'll lay over. There are some social media posts where they'll take any subject, doesn't matter, pick what we talked about tonight, and they'll overlay, someone in Detroit, someone in Florida, someone in Texas saying it on the news. There's a cadence that they teach you as a news broadcaster. There's an actual rhythmic cadence that they teach you that I won't say hypnotic because that's a little hyperbolic, but it's smoothing. It's soothing and it's smooth to where you hear it and you're like, great, next. There's an actual cadence in their delivery.
It's
and
true.
You don't
Yeah.
hear that on podcasts.
It's true.
Because I'm not professionally trained. I'm just a clown, right?
Right.
But that's why podcasts hit so hard is we're not speaking in those cadences.
That's a
We're
good
having
point.
an actual damn conversation.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think back to when there was a CNN journalist that went on Joe Rogan, and that ended up getting way out of hand in terms of what the mainstream media did with it.
Yeah.
They took all these clips, and everybody was saying, well, no, this, and I believe that, and this and that and the other thing, because it got too real,
Yeah. Yeah. And look, it's doom and gloom. Things are intense. We've said it every single episode. Look inward. Focus on yourself, even though you've been taught to focus on other people. And the way you fight back is you do what's important for you on a small scale. The people right now on these large scales are buying into the dialectic and they think they're going to make an impact on this large scale. And I'm just telling you, if you've been watching the past 6 months, you're not. The scale is past you. You want to make an impact, look in and be ready to do what you know is morally right and stick to that. And that's the biggest thing you can do. Have a small group of people who also do things morally right around you and make that your hub of activity. And that's the most important thing you can do. Act like a fucking human being.
I think that's good advice.
It is. I'm sure you got a lot to say there.
Well, I mean, just overall like a major bombshell of an episode 300 here, and
yeah, I hope it makes the
Damn,
air.
we went over an hour and a half.
Oh man.
No, I mean, hey, this is good
Sorry,
stuff.
it's just the truth.
No, but here's the thing, and like, you know, it is wild that I've even experienced it where I was like, holy shit, like I've had a curtain over my eye and I was being comfortable not facing the truths of my reality. I've been there, and I think the facing inward thing is important because there's a lot going on in like the AI news. I won't even get into that, but like people can get duped by all that stuff so
Dude,
easy.
That's going to be coming big time. I think.
Yeah.
Well, that's my prediction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's already
Yep.
it's already confusing people.
Yeah.
It's only going to get. It's going to come to a point though where it's going to become criminal, and
Yeah.
you can make me do something I didn't do.
I totally agree.
I think
And
we're
that's
there.
why I think looking inward and having a few set moral people around you that really know who you are and who they are, because you're going to lose grip on reality. If you listen to this episode and you don't find yourself slipping from reality a little bit because it's so deep and intense, you didn't really listen to it, because this is deep stuff. AI is going to take that to the next level. People are going to lose touch with reality.
It's happening.
Who around you are going to be able to grab onto and go, I've known you for 10 years, right? Yes.
I know.
Yes. I remember Jamie's basement and I remember the podcast booth. This is really me, dude.
Yep.
Because
Scary.
reality is going to
I
get
know.
wonky. It's already wonky.
It is.
It's an altered dimension.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll kind of agree with your advice, but like how I look at it is like there is chaos around us constantly at all times. And I believe, which might pull people out of reality, that like our unconscious minds are much more powerful than any constitution or group has wanted us to believe. And so through our mind, we actually can manifest and control our lives. That means control our health. That means control our wealth. That means control the relationships that we have, what we choose to focus on, and how we find value in our day-to-day lives. I believe in that. Everyone has this secret power that most people haven't unlocked. I feel like I've scraped the surface on unlocking my subconscious intuitive power, and it helps me stay happy, centered, and off of painkillers, which I still haven't done in over 4.5 years. And fuck the pharmaceutical companies while we're at it.
Yep.
So that's kind of like my quick thought on all that.
No, I think that's great. And in doing that, like that sobriety, it lets you grip reality more, right? I think social media and AI are going to become the new opiate. And
already
I
is.
just think we're going to see people slip away from reality. We've seen politics definitely was an opiate, right? And people have lost touch with reality. People who were cheering on an agenda that was proposed to them 2-3 years ago are now rejecting that so that they can stay on that opiate. And I'm talking to you, MAGA, right? You're taking an opiate. It's not what you told it was. People on the left have taken their opiate. Politics was an opiate. If you want to fight the war in the fourth turning, stay grounded and stay rooted in an actual reality. That's the most profound thing you can possibly do, is stay rooted in reality.
It's going to be a challenge for most.
Totally.
Constantly
It
being
already
sold
is.
to, constantly being hit with AI clips. All the TikTokers out there, it's a mind virus.
People are going to have AI girlfriends and AI
It's here.
pornography.
It's here.
They
and
do
it's just
already. Yeah.
insane.
It's happening right now.
Like, you're having, like, I guess you'd call it a high level, intense human experience with something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Got to get back to basics, as we like to say.
Yeah.
Bring it back to the basics. It makes me want to almost live not a homesteader lifestyle,
makes me
but
it makes me want to
something
think about that.
closer to that.
Yeah.
Like
Makes me think
I
about
appreciate having electricity and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
there's solar and there's other options, but it makes me want to get farther away from people again. I grew up in the woods,
Yeah.
and that was a great upbringing. And then out here, it's just when I say out here, I mean living in a very populated area. It's so fast, it's so rat race, it's so keep up with the Joneses that you get pulled in to the nonsense, into the clown show, if you will.
Right.
And if you don't join Team Clown, well,
Then you're not cool.
you're an
You're
asshole.
not popular.
Yeah, it's tribal, and that's why
It
I
is.
really think it's going to continue to get tribal. We touched on that earlier. We don't have to rehash, and that's why I think rather than trying to go bigger for like I want to solve this big problem, go smaller and
Control
go.
what you control.
I got a couple people around me. This is a very real, very human experience. We like to do a couple things, and it's fun. And I'm connected to my human experience, and just stay there and lock down. Because we talked about a couple coming trends. I think the big 3 to 5 year trend is pulling people out of reality and placing them into a false reality built by the control grid, and it's not real. It's not real.
I need to get rid of my cell phone too. Then
Bro, that's my retirement plan.
Episode 300 is the last time DCPC has any involvement on social media. You'll never see any more stories. No, I'd love to say that.
We
I'd love
obviously
to
got
say
to still play the game.
Yeah.
But we try to keep it as real as we can on here, just reflecting with 300 and just everything
Yeah.
we've
Yeah, and
done
I mean,
here.
you got to get the thing out.
Got to get it out,
right?
And
But
it's
again,
a tool.
yeah, and I mean, social media is like alcohol or cigarettes or weed or like,
It is. It's a dopamine.
What are you going to use it for? And again, at what volume and intensity?
Mhm.
Like, are you going to use it to use it? Like, I like to research and read on social media. I like to stay in now. Part of my grounded experience, because it's not like I started speaking like this a year ago. In early on, 6th, 7th grade, people are like, what are you going to do when you grow up? And I'd be like, I'm moving to the woods. I'm going to get weird and wait for the country to collapse. And that was like, 35 years ago. And I just had a gut feeling, and I would say stuff because I felt like I was speaking the truth. But like part of my connected experience is to know that I was saying that I can still see it and hear it. So reading on social media and being on my phone reading articles is a connection to that very real past. And I want to know the realness and grit of what's going on right now. Because one, I'm like, cool, 6th grade Mike wasn't loony, right? But also I know it's going on, so I want to stay rooted in that as part of my human experience right now. But then people use it for stuff that's just it's not real too. It's essentially a dialectic.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you can use it as a tool to benefit, as you will, or you can use it to get pulled further into the system.
Yeah.
The choice is kind of really yours. And, I think people like to I always say people do more to avoid pain than they will to gain pleasure. And a lot of this is part of that.
That's a great saying. And that through history is shown to be true.
Yeah. It's easy. It's easier to take the thing. It's easier to just stay in line.
Yeah.
Do what you're told.
It's
This
easier
is
to
the right
rat
way.
your neighbor out and have a police officer knock on their door and drag them out of their home than it is to deal with.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and that's been shown
And
throughout
that's
history.
just human psychology too, I think.
Yeah, and I think again when you think about like how AI is going to be deployed in the coming control grid, the pleasure portion of it is not going to go missed.
Yeah. I mean, that's how they keep them in.
Yeah.
It's concerning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess take that information with what you will, right? If the listeners and viewers made it this far, you're amazing, right?
Yeah, I would totally agree.
A lot of people probably bailed when you put the nose on and the hat and stuff, and they're like, "What is this fucking clown show?"
Well, I think we explained it well, though.
We did. We
it's
did.
a clown show, man. It's a clown show.
Yeah, and this wasn't, at least speaking for myself, like when we decided, it lined up with 300, but having you on, we always have these deep conversations that have been controversial in the past, and people get, oh, you guys are fucking tinfoil hats, conspiracy theorists. We're just having conversations.
Yeah, and it's really broken through because, again, I mean, some of the stuff we brought up tonight is not just us saying it. It's a lot of people saying it right now, and that is interesting to me. I think that's a cool part of the cycle to be watching, but it's not verboten anymore to be saying pretty much everything that we've said. It's actually a coming wave. It's just a matter if that wave is tampered down or not, but, the genie's out of the bottle. and the old operating system post World War II is no longer here. And there's people that are going to try and drag you back into that. That's not a reality anymore. You just need to emerge and know that the new operating system is here to be constructed. And you're either going to be part of the new show, or you're going to be part of the old show and sitting with the boomers in the peanut gallery.
The choice is yours.
Yeah, choice is yours.
I mean, that's you at least still have that freedom, right? When you think about it, you have the freedom to kind of dictate the way you want your life to go, where you want to live, who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Do you want to be on social media? You have those decisions.
What kind of social, you can control your algorithm on social media as well. Like you don't have to get fed the bullshit.
You don't have to eat it.
No, you don't.
You can change it.
Yeah, I actually purposely click articles I don't want to read just so I'm feeding the beast and I'm throwing them off. You know, even like when I used to go to doctors, which I just don't at all anymore, I would always like make sure I didn't fill in my paperwork the right way every time. So my personal folder and personal algorithm never really lines up. So I always throw the beast, a little banana peel.
You can't say that. You're giving away the secrets.
Well, he's not going to,
they don't know what box is.
They don't know
that's
what
true.
box is.
That's true.
You got to keep them guessing, of course.
Yeah, you got to keep them
we,
guessing.
we had touched on that a little bit with our guest. Well, last week with Why Bizzle, we went into some of the natural health remedies and stuff. We don't have enough time to go any further with that. But again, controlling what you can control.
Yeah.
Either buy into it, put the garbage in your body, or try to make better choices.
That's it. Yeah.
There's options, and they're
That's
out there.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, to share your time with us a 10th time.
Yes.
And to celebrate us doing this over 6 years.
300, dog.
300, man.
300.
We really do appreciate you. And also being open enough to talk about this stuff, because I'm sure just with your family you've described, people don't really want to get into it and chop it up with you on these subjects.
No, they don't.
So I appreciate you knowing that we're a trustful place where you can come to broadcast this information.
Broadcast it.
Hey, YouTube, we're great partners, so help promote this episode for us.
Yeah, there's no mission here. We're not steering a narrative. This is 300 episodes built on real conversations.
Yeah.
Real opinions.
Real conversations, which is rarity these days. So
it is.
It's nice to have them.
Yep. So are you hanging out after the show? We doing something after this?
Yeah, what do you guys want to do?
Okay, we'll talk that off, Mike.
Right.
We're going to get into it.
Let's go.
It's a clown world
right now. Weird in the woods.
Yeah, let's go weird in the woods.
Thank you for tuning in to DCPC and supporting us, what we do here, and having an open place for people to talk about anything. And I'm talking about anything for real.
We've always said anybody and everybody. Joe Rogan to Joe the Plumber. We keep it real. We have a good time.
Yep.
We put on a clown suit. We goof around.
Clown suit, man.
We have fun. There's no rules.
There's no rules. Not in the studio.
No, not in the studio.
Keep it real.
What happens in the studio sort of stays in the studio.
Somewhat.
And then it goes out to the world.
It goes out to the world.
So great up, man. Let's wrap it up. We'll see you tomorrow. Happy Friday, America. Thanks for supporting this YouTube channel and all the work that we do here. Mike, you've been on our show so many times. Thanks for coming back. Until then, y'all.
Let's go. Let's go.